Hello everybody and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video we will be talking about Super Tuesday. So Super Tuesday is tomorrow. March 5th, 2024 is the not so historic this year, but typically in presidential elections, historic presidential primary day where many states cast their votes in their parties, nominating process, and about a third of all delegates are awarded. This year in 2024, it's 34%. More than a third of delegates are awarded tomorrow. So even though we do know who will win this nomination, it's going to be Donald Trump by a very wide margin. It's still important to look at how much of the vote Nikki Haley gets, because she is proving already to be a very critical part in the general election, with Trump keeping his Republican Party in his hands. Just yesterday, the Washington, D.C. primary actually voted for Nikki Haley. That is the first time a woman has won a Republican presidential primary. She won there. And she won 40% in South Carolina, 43% in New Hampshire, so the 25% in Michigan. And the point is, Nikki Haley, as a clearly anti-Trump candidate now, all of her support's coming from anti-Trump voters, is still winning very significant portions of the vote across these very close states like Michigan and New Hampshire and Nevada. Or Nevada was a little awkward, but Nikki Haley is winning hundreds of thousands of votes across these states. She won 300,000 votes in Michigan when Trump won Michigan by 10,000 votes in 2016 and lost it by 100,000 in 2020. So when you've got Nikki Haley still in the race, still dividing this party, it will be very important. And therefore, it is also important to look at if she will last after Super Tuesday, because it was a question after Iowa, would she last until New Hampshire? She did. Then after New Hampshire, it'd be a question, would she last until South Carolina? She did. Then after South Carolina, it was a question of, would she last until Super Tuesday? And her promise of staying in has been true time and time again, and she is in this. However, it's not like the other time. She is not promising that she will be in the race after Super Tuesday. So it'll be very interesting to see whether or not Haley stays in after Super Tuesday, because the results, honestly, after the Michigan primary and South Carolina primary, and then, of course, the D.C. primary last night, she kind of has been overperforming over and over in a few of these states. Now, Idaho, Missouri, Nevada, not so much, but there are a few states where she has found some success, at least. Obviously, not enough to come close to the nomination, but she's not doing horribly. This isn't a complete blowout. So, with that being said, let's look at our primary states. And we do have some polls from all of them, I believe. So, one poller, Main Street Research, polled Republican voters in every Super Tuesday state: Vermont, Virginia, Minnesota, Utah, Massachusetts, Colorado, California, Maine, North Carolina, Texas, Alabama, Alaska, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Arkansas. And coming in at the two closest states, in Vermont, Donald Trump is leading by a 2% margin. That's not surprising. I think that Vermont will be extremely close. I won't give away, who I think will win right now. I will in a second once I start my prediction. But that I definitely understand. And we also, in Virginia, Trump leads by 10 in this poll. We had another poll among likely voters that actually had Trump leading by only 2. And this makes sense. After the D.C. primary, Nikki Haley won that D.C. primary by quite a lot, actually. Yes, there is a Wikipedia page for it. She won kind of almost, double the vote total of Donald Trump. I mean, obviously, this is 2,000 votes. We're talking a minuscule number of votes. But Nikki Haley won the D.C. primary by a lot, and of course, Virginia's electorate is going to be very similar to Washington, D.C.'s, especially around that Arlington area in Virginia, right? So, I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but still, that 2-point margin that I saw earlier, that's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be more like 10. In Minnesota, Trump, and then, it's like after this, it goes, after Vermont and Virginia, it's like she has no chance anywhere else. Minnesota, Trump up 24. Utah. Utah was supposed to be one of the states that she could actually win. You have the lieutenant governor and the first lady of the state both endorsing Nikki Haley. This is a state that where Evan McMullen got like a quarter of the vote. We see in this state traditional Reagan-like Republicans, traditional conservatives who are anti-Trump. That's how Evan McMullen was able to do so well. I mean, Ted Cruz crushed Trump here in 2016. But what do you know? Trump leads by 28. Massachusetts, a liberal state, even among many Republicans, Trump leads by 32. In Colorado, this was supposed to be a more moderate state when it comes to voters as a whole, but especially the Republicans. They're more on the moderate side. If you remember that Colorado GOP Senate candidate in 2022, he was pro-choice. He was very liberal. But no, Trump leads by 42. California, so many delegates up for grabs. Trump dominates 52. He's up by. Maine, again, northeastern state. We have liberal Republicans. Trump still leads by 52%. North Carolina, unsurprisingly, Trump plus 54. Texas, Haley campaigned here multiple separate times. I believe 3 separate times, or 2 maybe. Trump leads by 58%. And then you just go to wow territory. Trump in Alabama up 60%. Alaska shocks me. Alaska is a state that is known for their independent vote in presidential primaries and, of course, general elections. They have such moderate Republicans. Despite that, Trump dominates by 62%. Tennessee, Trump plus 66. Oklahoma plus 78. And then Arkansas, Trump plus 84. What margin is that? Oh my God, that is a 6. Is that a 6 to 94 margin? No. Almost, though. Something like that. I don't know, but so you see that after you get away from Vermont and Virginia, it's not even close. These are our only 2 competitive states. So Super Tuesday will be good for Donald Trump, and this is why I think that Haley probably does drop out after Super Tuesday, because after so many of these delegates have been awarded, there is just no path to victory. Like, there's not a viable one right now, but after Super Tuesday, it's non-existent. So let's make a Super Tuesday prediction. For the fun and so that my audience retention rate stays up, let's go from least close to closest. So Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee. I mean, we also have the delegate rules, which is extremely important. But starting with Arkansas, they have a winner-take-all system if you win over 50%. Donald Trump is on track to win like 92 or 93% of the vote in my prediction. So he will win all of Arkansas's 40 delegates. In Tennessee, there is a 67% winner-take-all threshold. I think that Donald Trump absolutely wins over 67%. These southern states, these very conservative, not at all moderate like some other Republicans might be, they are going to be all in on Trump, and Trump wins all of Tennessee's 58 delegates. Oklahoma, 50% threshold again for the winner-take-all system. Donald Trump wins all 43 of those delegates. Obviously, I mean, these ones won't even be close margin-wise. And look at that, you're already at Trump. Trump almost doubles the amount of delegates that he currently does in this day and age. And by the way, those states that I had filled in earlier, those were the states that have already voted, just in case you were wondering. Moving on, Alaska and Alabama. I mean, Alabama I don't think is close at all. Looking at the delegate rules, there is a 50% threshold in Alabama, so he will win all of those 49 delegates. But as I was saying, Alaska, I mean, this just goes to show the sheer dominance Donald Trump holds over this party, because Alaska voted solidly for Ted Cruz in 2016. Alaska is one of the, if not the most independent states in the country. So, the more independence you have, the more centrist your state will be. But despite that, Donald Trump leads by not 5, not 10, not 20, no, 62% in this poll. I do think it will be a little closer than that, but they don't have a winner take all system, which is good for Haley. So I'm thinking that Donald Trump leading by 62 in that poll is what? That's an 80-20 margin. I don't think it's quite as close as that. I would put it at 75-25, but still major dominance from Donald Trump. Um Texas, let's see. So Texas, he leads by 58 in this poll. I'm not just basing it off of polls, obviously, but look at that. Texas, with their incredible 162 delegates towards the convention. If I was Nikki Haley, I don't even know why I would be campaigning here if it's a 50% threshold. Nikki Haley cannot in any universe come even close to that. So therefore, Donald Trump wins every single delegate. Because again, this is just a two-person race, right? Vivek and DeSantis here have dropped out. I just include them because they got delegates from Iowa. But this is a two-person race now. So we will see a major utilization of the 50% threshold that many states have, of the winner-take-all threshold. So Donald Trump will carry, 70% in many states, but 100% of the delegates. And that's just how Republican primary systems work. In North Carolina, Trump leads by 54 in the poll. They don't have I guess it's unclear what the winner-take-all threshold is. So it appears that, they must have some sort of system where they allocate based off congressional districts. If we go back to 2016, maybe we could see. There's not even a Wikipedia page for it, so we don't know. I'm just going to assume that it is proportional. So in a state like North Carolina, says there's not a minimum threshold to get delegates. I would think that Nikki Haley wins about 16% of the vote. I could see that there would be a solid 16% of moderate Republicans that would vote for her. But again, this is not a race that we even need to be talking about, except for the fact that how it could hurt Trump in the general election. I don't know how she got 25 in Michigan. I'm still wondering about that. Michigan, Trump leads by 50. Or sorry, Maine, Trump leads by 52%. 50% threshold in Maine, two-person race. Of course, Donald Trump is going to win all of the delegates. I personally think that Trump will win here by 20%. Actually, I guess not. I would guess 30% based off of this polling, but I just can't see it being 52 based off of results in Michigan, South Carolina, New Hampshire. How could New Hampshire be Trump plus 13, but Maine, Trump plus 52? Neighboring states, very similar politically. I just don't see it. So I think that these polls are a little inaccurate, but you get the message. Trump dominates. In California, so California's rules are a little bit unknown because in 2016 they held their primary so late into the season where Donald Trump was the only candidate who was still in the race. The winner had already been decided by then, and that was Trump. So we don't really know how they allocate their delegates. I'm just going to assume, if we don't know, that it is a proportional system. That's what I'm going with right now. But I forgot to fill in American Samoa. Oops. Nope. Virgin Islands. They hold their contest before Super Tuesday. So in California, let's see. I don't think they're going to do it proportionally, but that's all I can assume right now, since we don't know the rules exactly. So I would think that even though they're withdrawn, DeSantis does win 2 delegates, 1.1 or 1.2%. He would have done well there if he was still in the race. I guess Vivek does win a delegate at 0.6%. And then Nikki Haley, I don't think she performs as bad. We're talking about these numbers. I don't think that Nikki Haley does as bad as here as other states. But still, it's a 20-78 margin, right? Trump is leading, or Trump wins 4 times the amount that Nikki Haley does. So it's not even a any sort of contest here. It's not really going to be close in any of these states. It is meaningless, except for the fact that we don't know where Nikki Haley voters are going, because It's not many percentage-wise, but when you've got these American elections where it's decided by a few states due to the Electoral College, and it's decided by a few 100,000 votes across 6 states: Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And they always go to the candidate that wins them by a minuscule amount. Nikki Haley's votes really do matter. Looking at Colorado, this would be wow, that's incredible. That would be a 30 to 70 margin. Trump plus 40%. Again, I think that these will be a little bit closer. Nikki Haley has been slightly underestimated in polls. But Colorado, okay, so Colorado is a winner-take-all system, as you can see by the key there. So, let's see, Colorado. Why was I thinking? I don't know. Trump wins Colorado, obviously. Then you've got the, not completely blowout states, I guess, in a certain way. Massachusetts, a plus 30 margin would be, let's see, 65 to 35. Still pretty bad. But that's Massachusetts. I think that Massachusetts is fairly close, but still, it's a 50% margin, or it's a 50% winner-take-all threshold in a two-person race. Donald Trump, of course, is going to win Massachusetts. Utah, Trump leads in this poll by 28. I think it's kind of significantly closer than that. I think it's going to be Trump plus 18 about. Regardless, it is a winner-take-all system in Utah, apparently, and Donald Trump wins. For some reason, in all the states that Haley could actually come close in, those are the states that have a winner-take-all system. I don't know. Blame the RNC. I hate the winner-take-all system. Every state should be proportional. Then you've got Minnesota, which has an 85% margin. And lucky for Nikki Haley, Trump is actually not getting there, and she actually will get to that 10%. So therefore, Minnesota does become proportional. I think that Nikki Haley, I don't see. Okay, so this poll has it plus 24, so that's 12. So that's a 62 to 38 margin. I would see a 41 to 58 margin. I think that is very reasonable, and that Nikki Haley would be happy with that result. I think that is where things stand right now, and that's good for Nikki Haley that they have an 85% ceiling until you win all of the delegates. That is reasonable, an 85% ceiling. Then you've got our two close states, Virginia and Vermont. Starting with Virginia, they have a proportional system, so it is completely proportional. All you have to do is win, let's see, 2%, 2.08%, and you win a delegate. So I don't think that DeSantis or Ramaswamy get there, but this one will be sort of close. So according to this poll, it would be a 55 to 45 margin. And based off of that result in Washington, D.C., which I mind you again, was not even close, an absolute blowout, I think that Nikki Haley could really run up her numbers in the Arlington area. You've got these Reaganite, traditional, conservative Republican, very wealthy Republicans who are going to be much more likely to support Nikki Haley with her traditional conservative values than Donald Trump, who's a little out there, too extreme for them, too off the hinge, unhinged, not off the hinge, unhinged. So I think that Virginia is actually pretty close, and good for Nikki Haley, it is proportional. I would honestly put my money right on where the polling is at this one. I think that it is a 45 to 55 margin in Virginia. And Trump crosses 1,000 delegates, while Nikki Haley is only at 134. And then finally, you've got the state of Vermont, which believe it or not, I actually think that that Nikki Haley wins this. Now, maybe call me crazy, but with Phil Scott, the governor, his endorsement, I mean, mind you, Phil Scott won re-election in 2022, but with over, I think he got over 85% of the vote. So Phil Scott is loved in New Hampshire, and I know that the governor's endorsement doesn't mean everything. You saw that in New Hampshire, but Vermont, given the extremely low number of simply Republicans in the state, of registered Republicans voting in this primary, I think that the locality of the state of Vermont, the sense of community among this small, measly Republican Party of Vermont, I think that Phil Scott's endorsement, and she got the support of actually a few state legislators I know who campaigned with her. She held events in the state where Phil Scott and those legislators were speaking for her. I think that there was just such a small Vermont GOP that this small group of Vermont Republicans would actually get together and know each other enough, like on a personal level, that they would all vote for the same person. So I think that very narrowly, Nikki Haley would win this primary, but she does cross 50% and therefore does win all 17 delegates from Vermont. And as I said, I do think that polling is a little underestimating Nikki Haley from this pollster. I mean, she overperformed just a little bit in Michigan, New Hampshire, South Carolina. So I think that in a close race like this, she might actually pull out a small win. Obviously, I'm not going to be surprised at all if Nikki Haley, if Trump does win the state of Vermont. But I think that right now it could be a 51-49 margin, and Nikki Haley wins all the delegates. So this is my final Super Tuesday prediction before tomorrow. After Super Tuesday, I think that Donald Trump wins 1,006 or has 1,006 delegates. I think that Nikki Haley will have 151, Vivek Ramaswamy at 4, and Ron DeSantis at 11. Their numbers rise from California. So this is my final prediction, as I said, and I do think that Nikki Haley drops out. I'm just going to say here, even though she does win a surprising win, an upset in Vermont, I don't think that will be enough to push her forward. I mean, when Trump has, let's see, like 6 times the amount, more than 6 times the amount of delegates that you do, there is just no viable path to victory after this. And you already see the Koch net. Is it? Yeah, I mean, it has to be, right? The Koch, that's how you say it. The Coke, maybe Coke Network. I don't know. I've never even heard anyone say this or I definitely have heard people say it on the news, but I don't know. I haven't picked up on it. But Americans for Prosperity, basically, this billionaire backs American for Prosperity. This political action committee group, and they endorsed Haley, and not just endorsed, but like campaigned for her, like put money into her race in these early primary states. And just a few days ago, they pulled out. They are done with the campaign. So I think that this will happen to many more donors, and Nikki Haley will run out of the money. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all enjoyed. It was a fun video to make. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.